Alright, so here's this week's weekly Witch Queen campaign mission. It's the Communion, doing a solo flawless master run. The weekly modifier is Chaff, which is the same for the weekly Nightfall. Not a big deal for this mission at all. All the encounters, boss fights, everything's a wide open space. You're dealing with Cabal, which are pretty hard to miss. And yeah, so it's not like with Glassway, it's definitely more of an issue not having radar, because in the boss fight everything is close quarters and you got teleporting Vex Overload champions and teleporting Wyverns, all stuff that'll like one-shot you if it gets up close. So it could be a little bit trickier on Glassway this week, but not an issue for this mission at all. So my voice is a little bit worn out because this is the third time I'm recording this. The first time I lost power because we've got a great Canadian winter storm moving in. It's really not that bad, it's just pretty windy. It's not even really like a blizzard, but power flickered off and I lost my recording when I was about 3/4 of the way done. So I hastily powered on my PlayStation again and started to record. I finished the recording only to realize I was muted the whole time. So third time's a charm. This time, as I always do, except not for last time, I make sure that my mic's not muted by doing a little test sample for a few seconds first. So I know this is working, better be. But I'm using Striker Titan with Storm Grenades, and I'm spamming them. Double Ashes to Assets with Thunder Crash, so I'm getting my super back pretty frequently. And this was kind of my answer to grinding the Glassway so much this week. I pretty much spent all my gaming time this week on the Glassway using Night Stalker. I was trying to solo it on Grandmaster, which I've never soloed a Grandmaster before, so I've been wanting to challenge myself to do it. And I feel like the harder strikes are the more interesting ones, like the Glassway and the Light Blade and Corrupted. So I feel more compelled to try and challenge myself on those missions, which may seem a bit crazy, but either way. And somebody in my comment section on one of my older videos challenged me to solo a Grandmaster with Joe Falcon's Hauberk. So that's why I was using Void 3.0 Hunter, Night Stalker. And I made it as far as in one of my first runs, actually. I made it to the boss fight. I killed the first 4 overloads. I killed the first 2 wyverns, and then I made a stupid mistake and got double sniped by the 2 barriers. So I knew when I reached that point, if I was able to kill 4 overloads and 2 wyverns, that's basically the whole boss fight. Like then you just got to do it again, 3-4 more times. That's the hardest part of the whole boss fight, is the overloads and the wyverns. So I knew once I got a taste of that I could do it on GM. I knew that I could complete the mission, but because it's such a long mission and the whole first part of the mission is a grind, like when you try to do these missions solo flawless, it's and you die somewhere, your next goal is to make it to where you last died and not die. Your goal is to overcome where you last failed. So when you die at the boss fight, like 30 minutes into the run, you start to lose a little bit of patience, and you want to get right back to that spot where you died and beat it. And like obviously if you're practicing these things on master difficulty, you don't have to start at the beginning. I do, because it's my personal goal to do these solo flawless. So if I die anywhere in the mission, I just go back to orbit, or I just restart the mission. I don't restart at a previous checkpoint. Like, that defeats the whole purpose. Now, obviously on Grandmaster, you don't have a choice in the matter. You die, you just get sent back to orbit. So it could be a little bit, you can lose a lot of patience if you die somewhere, and then you gotta spend all your time getting back to that spot. And so in one gaming session, for example, like on the Glassway there, it was my goal to get to the boss fight again and not die to the 2 barriers. But you tend to want to rush to get back to that point, and then you start dying to stupid shit like a shank at the very beginning. So that's kind of how it goes. Like, you end up losing patience, and then you die more to stuff that you normally wouldn't die. So you gotta step away from the game for a bit, even overnight. Come back the next day when you're feeling fresh and inspired again and not frustrated. Then you can come back to it, and you generally have success that way. But it's the moment that you fail, you kind of risk this downward spiral of losing patience and dying to stupid stuff. Maybe that's more of a personal problem. I don't know. But yeah, I spent several hours on Night Stalker. Hunter is like my least played class. I'd say Titan is obviously my main, and then probably Warlock, and then Hunter. Although I did play a lot of Solar Hunter, I do like Gunslinger a lot. But Night Stalker's not really my play style. I do enjoy it every now and then, and it's definitely fun in teams, like being able to play that support role where you can go invis and res your teammates out in the open, dangerous spots. It's fun every now and then. It's kind of, but it's a different play style than all the other subclasses. Like, it's like you're an assassin, right? So your goal is through your invisibility to control your position, control the enemy's position. You can bait them, and then when you get an opportunity, you can take out select targets by coming out of invisibility and killing them, and then you go straight back into invisibility, and you kind of repeat that cycle. So it's fun in that sense. It's unique, but it's also it takes patience and time. Like, everything that I do with Night Stalker takes longer, and I've noticed this too with other people. Yes, it's a safe play style. It's fun. You can have a lot of success in solo content and teams with it, but generally speaking, anything you do with Night Stalker is going to be a longer run than otherwise, because it just doesn't have the same toolkit as the other classes either, right? Like, being an assassin and kind of controlling the battlefield and taking out select targets, it's great, but it takes more. It just takes longer. Everything takes longer, whereas other classes are more focused on big damage, ad control, taking out a lot of targets at once, or dealing a massive amount of damage to a single target. Night Stalker, not as much. I mean, Mobius Quiver is a great super too, but yeah. So this was kind of my answer to getting fed up with soloing Grandmaster Glassway with Night Stalker, was to go straight into a mission where there's tons of Cabal and just do some serious damage with Storm Grenades and Thunder Crash and Lament. Not only that, but before I even attempted to wear myself out on Glassway, one of my last videos was I finally solo flawless Duality, and then after I did Duality, I realized Communion was coming up this week, and it's kind of similar. So I thought, well, maybe it'd be cool to use like a similar loadout. You know, use my Striker Titan with Lament, because it worked out for Duality. You're fighting Cabal. very ad dense mission, so I thought it would be kind of fun. So that's what I did. Originally I was using an unstoppable shotgun with 1-2 punch so that I can seismic strike 1-2 punch all the unstoppables, but I learned the hard way that you don't want to be up close and personal with these Cabal unstoppables because they got the flamethrowers on their back and they will blow up every now and then. So, and if your health bar is compromised at all, like even if you're at like 90% of your HP and you think you're fine and you're up in the unstoppable's face and it blows up, you're probably dead. So that's why I ended up just switching over to Smite of Moraine, and I haven't even used this pulse rifle, so I thought it'd be, might as well give it a shot. So and now I'm using double primaries, which means I get more heavy ammo. Both my primaries have Demolitionist. Smite of Moraine has Demo and Vorpal, and my Unforgiven Void SMG has Frenzy and Demolitionist. So both of them are synergizing pretty well with my Storm Grenade spam build, which is what Archetype is really all about. Touch of Thunder grenades. I do want to experiment with some other builds though with Striker, because like, you know, they've got that aspect Juggernaut. They've got Insurmountable Skull Fort. So yeah, I want to try out like a seismic strike or charged melee build for Striker with Juggernaut or something like that, but I don't know. Juggernaut doesn't seem that good. Like having a shield, a frontal shield while you're sprinting around seems okay, but I'd much rather have a shield on my back while I'm sprinting, because generally you're going to be running away from stuff or you're going to be facing stuff and shooting them. So when you're facing and shooting, you don't need a shield in your face blocking you, and when you're running away from something, you don't need a shield in your front, you need a shield in your back. So I don't know about Juggernaut yet, and Touch of Thunder is just too good to pass up, but I'll see. I might experiment. So there, that unstoppable is down, and it's also tempting to just Thunder Crash to kill him, but you could end up with the same result, blowing up his backpack, blowing yourself up, and dying. So not worth risking it. But yeah, you might be tempted to Thunder Crash there because you know you got this rally flag coming up, so you can waste your super and just get another one right away. Not worth it. So here you've got these, you got a few ads here to take care of, a couple Scions on the bridge. I always play this whole boss fight from the bridge right here. I just run back and forth. Once you get these two Scions out of the way, then you get another two Scions, which I just killed. Then the ship comes in, it's going to drop the boss, a Void Shield Ultra, and Unstoppable. So I try to preeminently Storm Grenade, get a stun on the Unstoppable if you can, crack the Void Shield, and then Thunder Crash. And then the Imperial Deserter boss is now at 2/3 of his health. So I took off the whole first chunk of his health bar just by getting a Storm Grenade and a Thunder Crash on him. And I took out the two biggest threats that were next to him. So now there's like 500 Cabal down there and 50 Void Shielded Flamethrower Cabals, so you can just spam Storm Grenades and try and crack their shields as much as you can. I would highly recommend a Void Energy Weapon for this mission. It's better than Arbalest, better than Adaptive Munitions by far, because you get those, if you crack a shield with a matching energy weapon, you get an elemental damage explosion. Like you hear that little ding sound when you crack their shield. Well, yeah, it emits an explosion which can then crack all the other void shields that are around it and damage all the enemies. So So it's very useful. So yeah. So Unforgiven and Storm Grenades make pretty quick work of all the ads here. And then you're gonna have another Unstoppable down there, take care of him. Then you just gotta disable the jammer. The boss's shield is gonna come down, and then you can do some damage to him. I just Thunder Crash him here, and then I get back to the bridge ASAP because there's gonna be like another 500 Cabal on the way. And I learned the hard way here as well. You don't generally want to get up in this boss's face. Like, if you can Thunder Crash and then get out, you're fine. But if you decide to Thunder Crash him and then go to town with Lament on him, he's going to stomp, stun you, and he's going to leave like this 50-foot diameter solar. He's going to light the floor on fire, and you'll be burning. So it's super dangerous. You get stuck in it, and then you're getting shot by everything else. And yeah, I died a few times that way. I've never done this mission with Lament, so I kind of had to learn all this the hard way. Don't get up close and personal with the Unstoppables. Don't get up close and personal with this boss. It's just kind of gotta get in and out. And then so this barrier that I just took out, that one can be tricky too, because the barrier and the boss kind of like to be buddies, like they stay together. And you need the opportunity to get up close and Lament the barrier, if you're using Lament, of course. If you're using a ranged weapon, like obviously the strats in this whole mission are different, and a lot of the issues are non-issues. But these are the issues of using a sword for big damage and taking out barriers. So make sure that if the boss separates himself from the barrier, take that opportunity to go take out the barrier. Because if you try to take out the barrier when the boss is there, you know, the boss is going to stomp, stun you, light you on fire, boom, you're dead. So other than the basic mods I'm running on this build, I'm using I'm using Lucent Blade obviously to enhance my Lament damage when I'm charged with light. I'm also using, see, Vorpal does pretty good, like even though this is kind of a crappy kinetic primary, you know, and it took like 10 shots to kill a red bar Scion with it. Like, it did pretty good damage with Vorpal to the boss. But back to my mods. I'm also using Striking Light, so because this whole build playstyle is up close and personal, Lament, Thruster Dodge, SMG, Striking Light is definitely top tier mod to use, because you get damage resistance while you're sprinting. So even if you're critical, as long as you're sprinting around, like, there's a good chance you'll be able to survive. Without it, probably not. So yeah, and so for this part here, once you're done with that first boss, you'll notice I kind of stood on the platform and waited for the platforms to play themselves out, because if you try to rush ahead, you'll either get knocked off the map by the platforms and then you die, or you'll glitch into a wall, like you'll get stuck in a wall from the moving platforms, and then you'll die that way. So just wait a second, wait for the platforms to come out and stay where they are, and then you can make your way across. And then you'll notice I almost died to the Phalanx. Well, probably the other ads shooting me as well, but that is your weak spot with this build. Not having a ranged barrier weapon means that those Phalanxes with their shields, you got no way to take them out from range. So you got to get a grenade on them. Where there's a little trick you can do, where if you like rush past them quickly enough and then do 180 and seismic strike, you can kick them in the back and kill them that way. But obviously, if you try to seismic strike them, like with their like at right in the front of them, like when they have their shield up, you're just gonna hit their shield and it's not gonna do anything. So yeah, so I kind of got frozen in my spot there, realizing, oh crap, there's a phalanx. How am I gonna take him out? Almost died, so I just backed off and waited for my storm grenade to come back and took care of him that way. So the barriers in this mission are I think there's one or two of the Cabals. They have like an heir apparent type exotic machine gun. So if you hear the sound of like a fast firing Gatling gun, those barriers are super dangerous. Like if you get in their line of fire for like a second or two, you're dead. The ones with the kind of more of like a grand overture, so slow fire rate, they're not as bad. But either way, I try with the barriers to damage them from cover outside of their line of fire until I know that they're going to be, you know, stunned or putting up their shield, and then I can rush in and lament them. So this boss fight works the same as the last boss fight. You got to disable the jammers. Instead of one, you've got 3 this time. Disable all 3 jammers, and then the boss is going to come in. You're going to be able to damage him, take off his first third of health. Then he's going to go immune, and then you got to disable the jammers again, and then he won't be immune, and then you can damage him until his third bar of health is down, and then he'll go immune, and then you get to, you know what I'm saying. Just repeat the same process over and over. But with each wave, with each health bar, there's going to be a set number of champions. So the first wave here, you get I think you get 2 unstoppables. No, you definitely get 1 unstoppable and 1 barrier. Second wave, I'm not too sure. I think the second and third wave, there's just 1 unstoppable. But if you could take care of the barrier first, that's a good thing, because they're super annoying with their blinding missile strikes that they do on you. So this boss fight is the boss room is really cool. I like it. I like the whole pyramid aesthetic, all like the ancient artifacts and stuff like that. It's a very open, it's a big open room, so it's kind of nice to to move around in. But there isn't, even though there are like objects where you can take cover, they're all like momentary cover, because everything is going to be pushing you and getting up close and flanking you. Like you don't really have any spot where you have solid cover that you can post up for like the whole boss fight and do damage from there. At least not that I know of. You know, there probably is. Like people find cheeses all the time and specific spots to fight from, but in my experience, there's not. Like the best spot is that corner that I was just at, because you can block yourself from line of fire from either the right or the left side, and you could like, yeah, you got like a double angle worth of cover. That pillar right there to the right. That's a good spot. The top platform up there is decent, but I think on the second and third wave it's a bit harder, because you got a lot of enemies coming out of these doors up top, and you got no cover from them. So the strat here is for me on this Titan, running around with a sword and striking light and thruster dodge is just to keep moving. If I get pushed off the map, I can swing myself back on, not a big deal. Striking light's giving me damage resistance while I'm sprinting. Rotating around the map frequently kind of leads, kind of confuses the enemies and puts them out of position. So that can be good. Not only that, but you have no choice but to rotate around the map because you got to go disable these 3 jammers every time. So the build I'm using for this mission worked out best for this boss fight specifically, I think. So, you know, it was tempting to pull out Lament there, but I wasn't sure. Oh, see, I did anyways. I wasn't sure what was going to happen, but because I hadn't died here before in this boss fight using Lament, I wasn't sure what kind of mistakes I was going to be learning from. Like with the last boss fight, as I was saying, I learned from my mistakes not to get up close and personal with him and start lamenting, because he'll light you on fire and stun you and all that. So I was a little bit cautious about getting too close to this boss. But it doesn't seem like, I'm sure he'll stomp you if you're close enough. And he's not staggered or whatever. Or if you're there for too long, like he'll probably stomp you and you'll probably go flying or something, but I'm really not sure. So I just kind of played it on the safe side. I think I lamented him that one time and that was it. I didn't risk it again after. You got storm grenades, right? I mean, like, there's really, unless you're just like gun-ho on doing, you know, using your sword and beating up in the enemy's face, just like you have that like instinctual need to do that. Yeah, if you're better off just doing as much damage as you can from a little bit further away. You don't need to be up close. You don't need Lament. Like, you have storm grenades. You really want to get up close, just thunder crash him, and you know, you're in and out. But staying there and doing sustained damage with Lament is, you have to be aware of the risk, obviously. So here I'm rushing for my Elemental Wells, right? Because every time I use Lament, it's consuming my stacks of Charge with Light from Lucid Blade. Which means that I have to be aware that if I'm not charged with Light, then I don't have any damage resistance while I'm sprinting. So there's a few times in this fight here where I kind of like, I use up my stacks, and I realize that. And so I'm kind of rushed to get a grenade kill somewhere and pick up another well, because I think that the only way I'm getting Elemental Wells is from Elemental Ordnance. So I know that my grenades are producing wells. I don't think there is anything else. But yeah, so there he was. He was critical already, and I knew a Thunder Crash was going to kill him, so that's that. But anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, a like would be greatly appreciated, or sub, share the video if you like. Yeah, and leave a comment. I'm always happy to engage with people in the comment section, so there's that. But other than that, I will see you in the next video. Take care.
Either way, we don't want to stay here longer than we have to.